Welcome back to the House of Legends podcast, where great women become exceptional. I am your host, Graciela, and in today's episode, we have one of the most powerful women in the industry, Laure. She's an expert on breath work, but to be precise, it's actually hypno breath work, if I'm pronouncing this well. When I saw that, and I mentioned this to you before, it was for me like, what is this? I want to know more about this. She's a mentor, coach, facilitator, guide, teacher, and podcaster. I think that one word was not enough to express what the things that you do for others, right? So
Yeah.
it's empower helping entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs to take their business to a new level by doing this work. With that being, if you can introduce yourself, Lauren, let us know who you are and what got you here to where you are right now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Graciela. I am so honored to be here. I am so excited for our conversation today and just diving a little bit deeper into, like you said, hypno-breathwork versus just breathwork. Again, my name is Lauren Little. I am and started as an intuitive sales coach, really diving deep into the world of sales. I've been in sales for 16 years now and kind of just gave it up. I said, I don't like this anymore. It's not for me. The industry started to change significantly. And I realized it wasn't sales that I didn't like, it was the way people sold, is what wasn't attractive to me. And after a huge catalyst shift in my life, I had a really dark chapter of life. Got diagnosed with bipolar 2 disorder, started going into really deep depression, anxiety, and episodes, and was very determined to find a way to not be on medications for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
And I came across the power of breath work and became hooked instantly. I started seeing the changes not only in myself professionally, but also personally. And once I was able to really heal in order to grow, it gave me the courage to leave corporate. I was in a corporate environment for many, many years and then went into a sales manager role for an entrepreneur in the industry currently, and finally realized I am meant to do more. So
Mm,
for breath work, for me, it activated new levels of confidence, it activated new levels of clarity, and it also allowed me to heal in order to see a clearer picture of what I was meant to do, where I was meant to go.
yeah.
So I know sometimes we have these exciting stories of all these wins that we share, like we've talked about a little bit on the internet, but sometimes the biggest changes in life and the biggest quote unquote, burdens and obstacles that we experience are what get us to our most beautiful moments. And that is what led me here.
Yeah.
So we can go through the story in depth, but there's many layers to the amount of times that breath work I feel truly saved my life
Yeah.
personally and professionally. And now it's my turn to share that same gift with the world.
Thank you so much for sharing. One thing that so many things impressed me, but I would love to choose to mention 16 years in sales. I was like, you're 20, you look like 24. I mean, I have to redo the
Add another decade and so.
oh, you look so young, But
Yeah.
when you aside that, when you were mentioning about this, sometimes we think like, as you mentioned, we don't like sell, so we don't like to sell because we are either selling in a way that doesn't feel right, aligned, or we have so many sometimes labels or beliefs that
Mhm.
we don't even aware from where those come from, right? So one of the things that I would love for you, if you can go a little bit deeper, just here, you mentioned that after that uh, situation that you went through when you were diagnosticated and you decide, I don't want to take medication. I
Yeah.
want to, I'm open to explore new things. Where do you find the first, it was on YouTube, it was through a friend. Where do you
Yeah.
find the first,
I love this question. So
I would love to know.
it's actually my husband, which
Okay.
people, when you meet him and see him, everyone kind of questions that we judge a book by its cover significantly. He's a big guy, and you look at him and you'll say, "Oh, he taught you breath work." And my husband is very in tuned. inward in. He still meditates every morning. I sleep in the morning. He wakes up and meditates in bed in the morning. I get an extra 30 minutes. He wakes up and he does his practice. So I've always seen him do it. But to me, I always had this mindset of a lot of people
Yeah.
in the same mindset of it's woo, it's not for me.
Yeah.
I've tried, I don't like it. But just like anything we do, it is a consistent practice. As much as I fell in love with breath work and as much as I got hooked almost instantly, it wasn't my first session. It was
Okay.
my third session. So
Mm.
my first session, I was like, whoa, feeling way too many things that I don't want to feel right now, seeing way too many things that I didn't know lived within me. The
Yeah.
second session, I started to open up a little bit. And then it did take my third session. I was like, okay, I'm hooked. There's something onto this here. So getting into breath work for me was a consistent practice of learning a little bit more on how to do something consistently in order to see the results. Because as of anything we do, we can't do it once or twice. So I actually started my very first session was with a lady, Francesca Simpa, who is such a dear friend of mine. She is an amazing human. She is also the creator of HypnoBreathwork.
Oh, wow.
So she was doing breathwork sessions for like $30 an hour
Wow.
here in Los Angeles at a place called Remedy Place, which I know they have in many different locations. And I went. We went in and I said, oh gosh, what am I getting myself into?
Just like
And
what is it?
yeah, that was the start. I started going back. I got a membership. I started going more consistently. I started looking it up online. And then I started really unveiling, I guess you could say, memories and old stories and subconscious programming that I didn't even know existed. And I
Mm.
had a very hard time digesting it. I fought it for a while. That can't be me. There's no way that little girl is me. And I started to just really trust and surrender and go into, hey, what is the worst that could happen if I give this a chance? And I took it a little bit deeper. I went online, I started taking courses, I started taking free things. And then I remember the moment where I said, am I really going to spend $1,400 with some man online that I know nothing about, but my intuition is calling me to? And I took a certification class. I got certified in breath work, and then I got certified in couples, and then group.
God.
Um, and then I continued on and I fell in love with the practice. I started doing breathwork sessions just online. Then COVID happened and
Mm.
everyone was at home and everyone wanted to start breathing. So it grew just significantly, very generically, very organic. It was just people magnetizing to kind of this new chapter of my life. The people who surrounded me were interested. Hey, what's Lauren doing? What is this?
Yeah.
And then I found HypnoBreathwork from Francesca and I fell in love. I knew it was for me. I knew it was a certification that my intuition was pulling me to, and in my heart, it felt very, very right. And that was the second kind of big event and table turn of events in my life. I had 6 deaths in 6 months, and I kept thinking to myself, this isn't for me anymore. The universe is trying to tell me something. I keep getting knocked down. My
Yeah.
aunt who raised me passed away. Then a month later, my mom passed away. A month later, my grandma. Then it was a cousin. Then it was an uncle. Then it was a miscarriage. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm done. I'm not going to coach. I'm just going to give up my dream. And the
Mm.
universe is trying to tell me that I'm not meant to do this. And I went into breath and immediately I saw the course that I was supposed to launch. I saw the community I was supposed to build. I saw the font. I remember I saw the branding. I saw everything and I came out of breath almost angry. I already made my decision. I was giving up. I wasn't continuing on. And now I go into breath and I see this whole business I'm meant to create. So I
Exactly.
trust.
Yeah.
And here we are 2 years later. I've helped hundreds of women. I've built a 6-figure business and I thank breath every day for it. Like
Oh,
without that breath work session, I probably would have gave up.
I love that. And well, I love the way that, like you said, like uh, you went through all this like certifications, I'm doing this, I'm doing that,
Yeah.
and until we surrender. And I think that was a moment of surrender when you said, you know what, I'm just gonna do this session, and you did that session, and after that, the download, because you were really open,
Mhm.
right?
And I
One
think
of
that's one of the most beautiful things, and that's what brought us here even together. You know, we magnetize to energies.
yeah.
And without breath work, I wouldn't be able to release the stagnant energy, the energies that don't serve us, all of those old programming, those old beliefs that we hold on to. I always say they're blocking your blessings. There are
Mm,
people out there who need you. There are people who are out there who you are meant to serve. But if we're not doing the work ourselves and we're not releasing that, we don't have the space and the capacity to serve those people.
yeah, I would love for to mention, and sorry for about, I think I don't call it losses, but I think it's just transitions. Your mother, as you said, the miscarriage. I did have a miscarriage as well, so I know the feeling. And
Yeah.
but I think that see those events, by you moving through those events with grace, and of course too, you were doing the work, and now
Hmm.
you are right now, you are able to hold pretty much any woman, like if she's
Yeah.
going through a any like transition or loss or whatever they resonate with the word, you are able to see, to hold the space,
Yeah.
and to help her to move.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say with total ease, but with grace. And I think that is the magic. And you mentioned something really amazing, that many times we look back and we see like, wow, I went through a lot of things, and those things were actually helping us to craft, to
Mhm.
mold us into the woman that now are here, that is able to hold a beautiful business, a family, and of course because we're doing the work, right?
And I think you kind of nailed it right on the head there. And one of the biggest things that I like to emphasize with my community and my clients is we have to heal in order to grow.
Yeah.
So we always, especially as entrepreneurs, we have these big goals or we see these visions, and then we get very frustrated that they're not happening. I'm supposed to be doing this. I want to create this community. I want this amount in my next launch. I want to do this. I want to do that. And when it doesn't happen, we get very disappointed.
Yeah.
But it's not meant to happen in that moment. And I think a lot of times we don't see it from that perspective is we may not actually be ready
To
for the
receive.
bigness that we are envisioning. Because if we're still holding on to those old wounds and those old patterns and those limiting beliefs, we're not actually ready for a community of that size. We're not actually ready for a launch of that magnitude until we heal ourselves first. So I use a lot, you know, we all must heal in order to grow. And it really is a deeper look inward on the journey upward. We can't have these massive launches if our nervous system isn't regulated.
Yeah.
Can't build this massive community that we want to serve when we haven't even served ourselves yet.
Oh God, you're really, really, really touching, really, really on the point right here. Because like you said, sometimes we want the things like we want. I I have to share this. So it was back in 2020, 21 when I started my first I will say class, course, you name it. And I was like waiting. I was like, I want, and two people sign up, and I was like, two people sign up, and I
Yeah.
was kind of getting like kind of like, but I was expecting more. So, and
Mhm.
now when I see back then, I was not fully ready. I'm not saying able, but ready to receive and to being able to understand people or managing projections.
Mhm.
When someone is triggered, how to navigate that, how to don't let that situation get into my nervous system, like you said.
Mhm.
So, and I think by doing this work, and I'm not, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
So we understand ourselves, and then we accelerate the process because we are actually able to hold more. We have
Yeah.
capacity, and when something comes or things are not going the way that we want, we are able just to, okay, review without engaging, without feeling kind of like I'll say, sometimes we feel discouraged, we,
Mm.
without um just remaining on that thing. We're able to snap out, and And as well, you mentioned that our nervous system has to be regulated, because sometimes we can, like you said, we can ask for so many things, and that things can come, but we're like, and instead of like feeling that naturalness in our body, the body feels like panicking, right? Like, it's like, I have so many things to do, and this and that, and we self-sabotage ourselves.
Yeah. And sometimes just projecting,
Yeah.
what we're feeling inward is a
Mm,
projection of our outward reality. And just as you used as an example, you were excited for this launch, you launched it, and then two people joined and you were disappointed. But you
yeah.
might have not have had the capacity to serve more than two people at that moment.
Yeah.
I thought of that when I'm one of those people, and fully admit this on the air right now, fully admitting I'm one of those people who do more when things are going quote unquote wrong, or when things are really tough for me. I show up 10 times more because it is my mask. It used to be my way to say, okay, if I'm showing up and I'm doing more, it's going to distract me from the reality of what I'm holding on to internally. And then I don't have to feel it. I don't have to see it. I don't have to deal with it. I can just shove it aside, but it doesn't go anywhere. It just goes deeper and deeper and deeper into our subconscious. And then we hold on to that, and it comes out as triggers later on. So I was very upset. I launched a program that I thought was the most amazing program I've ever created. I was like, this is so good. It is everything I've ever wanted to create. Like, I know how transformative it's going to be for my community. I remember my business coach even saying, this is the program, Lauren. Like, this is it. I launched it, 0 people.
God.
But I also had 6 deaths that I did not grieve. Each
Mm,
time I was more and more hurt, or each time my feelings became stronger and stronger, I
yeah.
went back to work.
To what's next?
I created my next program. I created my next session. I ignored everything that I was supposed to actually feel. And in hindsight, I look back now, if people would have joined that program at that time, I would have had to stop midway, because midway, it was an 8-week program. And 4 weeks after it launched, grief hit me hard. And I had
Mm,
to take a few weeks off.
got it.
So the universe was actually having my back and saying, you aren't meant to do this right now.
Yeah.
You're meant to heal yourself first before you can serve these people. I relaunched the same program. All I did was change the name. I don't know if I've ever admitted that. And 2 months later, we had 22 people join.
Amazing. Oh my gosh.
So, but the energy was
What?
extremely different
Mm,
because I took a step back, and because I did the work to actually take time to acknowledge my feelings versus shove them away.
love
And
it.
that's the beauty of breath work is always going to find the highest emotional charge. We have no control. I
Yeah.
joke about this a lot, but we could go into breath and be like, we want to create this program. And I'm going to go into breath and I'm going to see it. And then you go into breath and you see a 7-year-old you who's crying. And you're like, that's not what I wanted to see today.
Yeah.
Although that's not what you wanted to see today,
What?
that's what you were meant to see today. That's what you needed.
Mm,
Breath doesn't care what you want. It's going to give you exactly what you need. And that's the way that we should be building our business, based off of energetics, based off of alignment, based off of looking inward and finding clarity before we take that massive leap forward. Because we may take a few leaps forward, we're eventually going to get knocked back down if we're not looking inward.
yeah, and I love the fact that you mentioned that this is the primary work, because if the base is shaky, the base is, like you said,
That's the
something's not right,
foundation.
I'm just gonna go for the next. I'm just gonna go for the next. We don't even have time to, like you said, to breathe, to catch up, to, hey, what
Mhm.
happened here? How I felt,
Yeah.
what's going on inside, and from there shifting things around. Even you, like you said, the name, just shifting the name, and more than name, your energy. It was just like, I'm just changing my energy, because I work on myself. One of the things that caught my attention as well, and this, and you mentioned this, how this works for couples, because sometimes well, I don't have a partner yet in this chapter of my life, but when it comes to having a couple, and you are an entrepreneur, he's an entrepreneur, both are entrepreneur, how this how this can play a big role, not only in the business, but also in the interaction. I would love to explore that.
The power of breath has no limits. And I think that's the beauty of it, is
Mm,
there's so many benefits of it. We don't use breath work for X, and that's it in particular. Um, Especially as an entrepreneur, it gives us the ability to regulate your nervous system, which is first and foremost. Our nervous system needs to be regulated to be an entrepreneur. If anyone is an entrepreneur is listening to this, we know there's highs and lows. We know there's ebbs and
yeah.
flows. We
Oh
know it
God.
can be a roller coaster. And if our nervous system isn't regulated, we are going to go into freak out mode. We are going to become very stressed, very overwhelmed because we don't have the tools in order to calm ourselves, in order to get regrounded or recentered. But it really allows you to start the day every single day by getting out of your head and into your body.
Mm,
And I mean, benefit wise, it releases limiting beliefs. It allows you to really rise above fears that, discouragement or self doubt, that little voice in our head that's always questioning, can you do this? That imposter syndrome. It really develops your intuition. So, learning to trust your intuition in business. We don't need to launch because everyone else is launching. We don't need to create an offer because other people in the industry or in the space are creating that offer. We need to trust our intuition and see what's right in alignment with us when we're in flow. And it
mm.
gives you the ability to, shift your mindset. It creates heightened clarity, creativity. It elevates your emotional state. It's a natural energy boost. So when we can access flow state, I honestly will say this, it's game changer. To be in flow is probably the most needed and least recognized need of an entrepreneur and the human soul. Flow state is kind of that sweet spot where time starts to vanish and your focus and your creativity start to take center stage. That's where your ego starts to fall away. You're locked in, you're creating from your soul. It's an inner fire that's lit and you feel more connected and more in alignment. And that's where we want to create from, not
Yeah.
from forcing content or forcing an offer, not from a scarcity mindset, but when we're in flow state, you're unstoppable.
Yeah, it's like when you listen, and I just can, I'm bringing this analogy. It's like listening to this music that you can just go and on and play because it's so fluid. And like you said,
Yeah.
timing is right, the ideas are just right, people are just like, and you feel so right. It's just like everything's just aligning. But when we try to force or create from scarcity, from I need to do, or even worse, from survival,
Mhm. Yeah.
we try because, right, we have to get something or whatever.
Yeah. And I remember I've told this story before on a podcast, and it comes to me every time we talk about flow state. But I went to a flow workshop. It literally was called Flow. And this gentleman, Francisco, he he's one of the owners, and he said, if you are not accessing flow state as an entrepreneur, quit, throw in the
Mm.
towel, give up, because it's not fair to yourself for the people who are. And I remember sitting there in this moment, and I share this story a lot, where I was like, that is harsh. So you're just telling me if I'm not in flow state to just quit, to just give up? I've worked so hard for this. And once I went deeper into the concept of flow state, it actually comes from a field of positive energy psychology. And it is a study that actually helps humans thrive. So this isn't just, we talk a lot about um, kind of trends in the industry, and being in flow state actually helps. It describes a mental state. So when a person is completely focused and you're able to turn off your prefrontal cortex, that monkey chatter, that outside noise, and just look and tune and hone inward, it is game changer for your business. There's no distractions. There's no fear of judgment. There's no worrying about what other people are thinking, and no worrying about, is this going to work? You're just in flow and you can create from that space. And those are going to be the best offers, the best content, and anything that you ever create in a state of flow. People are going to see and they're going to start to feel the difference.
I felt if even listening to you, it feels so right. It feels so just like,
Yeah, you can feel it. It
yeah,
feels good in
it's
your
a
body.
feeling.
And that's when you know. I've told
You know.
clients, they look at me like I'm crazy. I tell clients, if this feels forced, close your laptop. And they're like, well, we're supposed to no, close your laptop. If you
Mm.
are forcing something, it is not meant to be. Come back to it.
Yeah.
And taking yourself into hypnobreath work is the fastest way to get into flow state.
Okay.
So
If
yeah,
Yes, I do have this question, and I think we were just like the conversation is pretty interesting. I would love for the listeners to, if you can explain the difference between, and I'm not saying that regular breath work because I'm
yeah.
just an expert. What is the difference between breath work and hypno breath work?
Yeah, it's a beautiful blend of exactly what it sounds like. It's breathwork hypnosis, and then we add the visioning and intuitive action.
Mm.
I will say, without a biased opinion, it is one of the most powerful modalities. We're blending breathwork, hypnosis, and visioning all into one place. So we use breathwork. It's circular connected breaths to access altered states of consciousness. So we're actually clearing those suppressed emotions, that stagnant energy from the body, and we're releasing it to the surface.
Okay.
Breath work alone is so powerful. So, so powerful. And by starting our session with that, we're giving our energy and that stagnant energy the opportunity to be released. We're making space. We're creating that space intentionally. And then we use hypnosis to really penetrate the subconscious mind. And that's the source of your motivations, your habits, your behaviors, your attitudes, all of those emotions and self talk. We have the ability now to use the hypnotic cues to reprogram our subconscious beliefs. So,
Mhm.
what we're doing is we're actually replacing those limiting beliefs, all of those old stories, those flawed perceptions, those beliefs that we created as a child that actually don't serve the version of ourselves that we are today. We get to rewire them. We have
Mm.
the power to rewrite that story. And then we use the visioning, which I always tell people is my favorite part. And in the visioning, we're really starting to fire new neural pathways. It's
Really?
sustainable behavior change. We're starting to envision our most empowered self. We're living in our purpose. We're taking intuitive action. We're starting to actually embody the life and the person and the individual that we are meant to be, not just dream of or see. And you stand tall in your power. It's a world of limitless possibilities. We eliminate our ego, we start to let our soul's vision come through. And I think really going into that visioning allows us to not just talk about the woman that we want to be. We
But
always talk about our higher self. My higher self does this. My higher self is going to create this.
mm,
But in reality,
that's true.
step into her. She's already there. She's waiting. That higher version of you that you're constantly talking about and constantly seeing, she's here. We just have to take intuitive action to be able to use the change that we're in control of to create that life.
Yeah, and I love this point as well of what you mentioned about uh creating or I'm not saying creating because it's always happening right now. It's already done. Creation is finished, but tapping into that version right now and
Yeah.
creating the habits. You don't need to have the house that or that business where 20,000 people signing up for, but you can feel, you can train your, like you said, your nervous system to feel. And not only to feel, to take action and to change your habits, to change the narrative, like you said. And
Mhm.
I
And
think,
you can see it, but I think the biggest, the most important giveaway, takeaway I will ever tell someone is seeing it as one thing.
mm,
But feeling it and believing in it and taking action is what's going to get you there.
yeah.
Because you can see whatever you want to see. We can visualize whatever we want to visualize. We can create this dream picture in our head. But if we don't believe in that picture and we don't feel that with every cell and every particle in our body and actually start to take action to get there,
It's not
it's
gonna
just
happen.
an image.
That's true.
So really taking that action is the most important part of hypnobreath work. I will tell everyone in every single session, at the end of every session, in group, private, whatever, if you walk away today and you don't take action, the session was pointless. You
Mm,
can go through an entire breathwork session, and we end every hypnobreathwork session with what is your next action step? So you're in flow, you're in your subconscious, you've surrendered already. Let your subconscious guide you. What
Mhm.
is your next step to get here? We don't need the full picture. I don't need
Yeah.
a whole roadmap. I don't need 10 steps. All we need to think about is what is the one step that we can take today that's going to get us closer there. And then
Mm.
if we take that step, we're one step closer. We go back into breath and we do it again. And then we're even closer. So we're constantly putting one foot in front of the other. And eventually you are going to get to that vision that you created.
It feels so, so right. And a question that I do have right now, and this is a process like everything, like even going to the gym or is a process. Sometimes we think like, oh, this sounds amazing. In one session, I'm just gonna do it all. So yeah, so it's like I'm going to
I will
finish.
tell everyone listening, no, it takes way
No,
more than one
it takes
session.
time, right? It takes some time. So the question here. So when someone is, let's say, is listening to this and it's like, this is resonating with my soul. This is like calling me. So what is the next step? What it will be for you? The suggestion, like someone
Yeah.
that know, like I will say, uh, skin on the game when it comes to breath work. What is the next step? And now that she or he is aware of the process.
Yeah, I would say simply get started.
Okay.
You know, I know we'll link, but my Instagram is _flow with low. And if you go, I will share with you as well. But I have so many free sessions there. I always tell people just get started. It doesn't matter where you start. I don't even care if it's with me. It could be any hypnobreathwork coach that you feel that, you start to magnetize to, because in reality, there's always going to be a coach for you, but not every coach is for you.
Yeah, that's
And
true.
I had to learn that even myself. To this day, I've been
Mm,
breathing for years, but not all coaches are for me.
yeah.
And so you have to find someone that, your nervous system does feel at ease with. You have to find someone that you can surrender and trust and that you feel safe with, because it is a journey. Breath work is an entire journey. And, I tell people when we go into breath, you're going to go on a journey today. You are, because you never know where it's going to take you. So to get started, my biggest advice is just do it. It's
Mm,
uncomfortable. Your fight or flight mode is going to kick in so quick and try and protect you and say, oh my gosh, what are we doing to your body? I'm not going to let you feel today. I'm not going to let you go through this process. Don't worry, I've got you. But if you breathe through it, those feelings do dissipate. And the more you surrender, the more profound of an experience that you're going to have.
mm, I love that. And of course, we're gonna put the information either above below the video and also on the podcast
Mhm.
details. And this point that you mentioned as well is about it. You bring about the mentorship or coach that we get to choose.
Yeah.
Some and I, for experience, I will say through my journey, I've been experiencing some things here and there. I will say I'm not gonna mention names, but that was my decision, and I was no taking in consideration, like you said, do I feel safe? Do I feel activated? I'm just taking the decision because I need it, whatever you name it.
Yeah.
But you have to be mindful, like just
Yeah. You
someone.
do have to be mindful. And I agree with that full heartedly. I think one of the biggest things is there's so many benefits of breath work. We talk a lot about the creativity and the heightened clarity and, clearing suppressed emotions and the visioning, but there are a lot of benefits that go a little bit deeper. Heightened self awareness is one. And hypnobreathwork really involves mindfulness. It's a deep self awareness practice where, as an entrepreneur, that increased self awareness is going to help you better understand your strengths and your weaknesses. It is going to help you connect better and deeper relationship with your intuition to know, hey, this doesn't feel right.
Mm,
It leads to improved decision making and even maximizing your leadership skills as a leader. We can't, I am a big believer in certifications. There's a lot of noise in this industry right now. Like, you don't need another certification. Stop taking all of, the programs. But when you have heightened self-awareness, you're going to know which programs you're meant to take.
yeah, that's true.
You're
Yes.
going to know as soon as you hop on a call if this is meant for you. Even when you contacted me, immediately it felt good in my body. I was like, I don't really know where this is going. I took a look at your page. I got to know you a little bit better. And I was like, My intuition is telling me a full body yes. Everything about this feels good, so I'm going to do it. But if you don't have that relationship with your intuition, or if you haven't done the work to acknowledge your intuition, how many times have people said, oh God, this doesn't feel right. Okay, let's do this. If it doesn't feel right, why are we doing it?
That's true. And sometimes when one of the things that I use as when it comes to decision is, of course, it does feel right, and it's gonna get me closer to what I want, because sometimes
Yeah,
we don't want to say no because I don't want to say no because I don't want
yeah.
to uh, feel other people bad or whatever. It's like, no, when you say yes to others, you say no to you in one area. So just mindfulness. And as well, when I have to confess, I was just seeing your life work, something just called me. I was just like, and of course I was just doing my due diligence, watching you and all that, but I was like, I don't need to watch. I know she has a message that I want to hear. And sometimes we have, I don't know, we enter into other coaches' world, and we just for years, even for years or months, we're just seeing that work. But it sounds good, but it's just like, even we don't invite them, right? But immediately with you, something just drove me to your world, and I was like, I just want to know her. And when I sent you the message, it's like,
Thank
well,
you.
let's say what she said. And for me, it was just, I felt even just natural to just to text you, and that's it. And I usually when I do those kind of invitations, either I do the inquire to through their page if they have like speaking inquiries, all that. And for me, it was just like I'm texting a friend, and it was like, how come? But now I know the reason, because your nervous system being here with you feels really, really good, really like safe. Um, and I can go on and on, but it feels so good. Just that.
Thank you so much. And I think that is the beauty of this. It's
Mhm.
building communities where you feel safe, building communities that your nervous system does feel safe. And that's one of the biggest things. I have a monthly membership, and all of the women in that community, they come and they say, well, this is my safe place to tell you. And they spill the tea, and it's fine, because that is what we need. In especially this industry and entrepreneurship right now, there's so much selling of take my 5-step guide,
Oh
use
yeah.
these 4 steps. That's great, but we also need to connect to people on a human level. What's going to work for you may not work for me.
Yeah,
You may have layers to peel and uncover first before you can use those 4 steps.
that's true.
And the magnetic energy is something that's so important, because I will tell people my virtual doors are open. Slide in my DMs, send me a voice note. I want to hear your voice. I want to hear your energy. We're not just another number to have another client sign up because we need to hit quota. These are humans.
Yeah.
These are relationships. Just like you said, I tell every call, this is not a sales call. This is a conversation with me as your friend who cares about you and wants to see you activate new levels of life and activate new levels of business, because I care about you.
Mm.
I've had clients ready to pay in full, and this took me a long time to have the courage to do. But if they're not meant for me, that paid in full is not going to benefit either one of
Oh,
us.
God, that's so true.
We
Yeah.
have to be in alignment. We have to have that connection. We have to have that energy. And I do say this very bluntly and very full-heartedly. If I don't think I can help you, I won't.
That's amazing.
If our hearts are not aligned, if our energy is not aligned, it's not going to benefit either party.
Yeah, that's so true. I did have some experience back in 2021 as well, when I was just like tipping my toes to my in my practice, but I was like, I was not aware. And yes, you're right. Even if they pay you in full, even they're like, there's some if there's no connection, if there's no something, uh, it's they're you're not helping them, and they're not learning. It's just like it's a no whole body.
Everything is energy. Everything is energy, and we have control over that energy. So if we're bringing energy that we feel resistant into our worlds, and we're choosing to bring that energy into our worlds, where do we think that's going to go?
That's true. Yeah. And
So,
here's
and
when
that's
it
the
be
connection.
aware. Yeah.
Yeah, the self-awareness. It goes back to literally the self-awareness of being able to, I tell people sometimes when I'm making big decisions, I will say, I'm going to go into breath and then I'll let you know. People are
Mm,
like, oh, okay. Is it a money objection? No, I just want to breathe on it first.
yeah.
Okay. Is it a time objection? No, I just want to breathe on it first. And you're going to go into breath, and your subconscious is immediately going to tell you, this is for you or this is not for you. You'll get an answer.
Mm,
You'll
I,
get an answer.
uh,
And if you don't answer it yet.
yeah.
Give yourself the space and the time to figure out why there's resistance. If there's no yes and there's no no, is there something that we have to do first in order to get to that yes?
Mm, I love this point because so many times, and we get so much pressure because there's a misconception, like you have to decide right away. If not,
Yeah.
they're gonna die. If no, you're not successful. You name it, whatever. And it's like, no. I mean, it could work for other people. I'm not denying that case that work for them. But if that, like you said, if, yeah, I don't feel like that is a whole yes, I can wait. And if the person is pushing me or is not willing to wait, amazing. That is not for me. Right.
Yeah.
Right. That. And when they, as a coach, as a mentor, guide, you give that space to the possible client. Actually, they feel even safer and they have the time even to process that thing and then come back if they're ready, right?
And even as a human, even just outside, I pulled this up earlier. There's so many benefits for people even who aren't entrepreneurs, from immune system support,
Mm.
which we need as an entrepreneur, chronic stress. We all know that it comes with this life at some point. It
Yeah.
can weaken the, immune system, making us more susceptible to getting sick, to getting ill, for burnout. By reducing the stress through hypnobreathwork, we're actually enhancing our body's ability to fight off infections.
Mm.
So we're releasing toxins and maintaining an overall better health. Another one was better sleep.
Mm.
We have long hours. Some days are longer. Some days we're up at 3 a.m. with an idea that we want to create.
That's true.
Improve digestion, that's huge. Breathing really can stimulate the parasympathetic nervous system, and that is fully responsible for our rest and digest response. And
Mm.
then lastly, one of the biggest ones is pain and tension release, and we don't talk about this one enough. Physical tension. We talk a lot about the emotional and the spirituality side of things within the breathwork world, but physical tension is just as important. Headaches, muscle tension, all of that are things that we usually power through as entrepreneurs. We're like, we have a deadline to hit, or we have a client to serve, or we have a program that's supposed to launch. And yes, we don't just want to throw in the towel, but we also have to physically take care of our body as well. And a lot of these benefits come within the practice of hypnobreathwork.
There's so amazing benefits, and like you mentioned before, it's just not the spiritual, the emotional, also is in the body. So it's like a holistic
Yeah,
approach. And when we come from this space, what we get to create, like you said, is in this flow state. And actually, we are not attaching, we detach. And
yeah,
actually, when we become more magnetic, and people can literally feel it. People, like I said, when I was in your social media, I was like, I want to talk with her. I was just like, and it was immediately. I didn't want to scrolling all the time. I was like, no, it's like feels so right. And because of that, the energy.
the energy, it is.
Yes.
And that we're not perfect. There's going to be days.
Yeah. Oh
There's
God.
going to
Yeah.
be days. I always like to emphasize, just because I breathe and just because coaches breathe doesn't mean we're perfect humans. We have
Yeah.
our off days too. But the beauty and the power of this is we have a tool.
Yeah.
Every single individual who is blessed enough to be able to breathe has this tool.
Mm.
Anywhere you go, you have this tool with you.
I love that.
One of the coaches that I worked with, we use the analogy of, it's the best drug you'll ever have, and it's free. You're not going to a pharmacy. You don't need a prescription. You don't need a doctor to give it to you.
It's yours. That's
Yours. It's in your back pocket. You're born with it. We're all born with this superpower of breath, but we're not all using it.
Yeah, and actually, now that you mentioned that analogy, that it's actually it's part of us. That is when we're born, is the first thing that we do, and when we die, it's the first thing that we're gonna do, like breathing, you know?
Best drug we've ever had.
Yeah.
The
Oh my
power
God.
of breath is endless. And I'm just so grateful you had the opportunity to share a little bit more with your audience. And I think the power of spreading, just the awareness of how powerful breath is. A lot of people have this perception of how woo-woo breath work is. And, we see these Instagram posts or these articles of people on the floor and they have these massive releases. And first thing people do is say, oh God, I would never want to do that.
Yeah, sometimes it's like I don't want to do. I
And
don't feel comfortable with 20,000 people, and I'm just like,
And
like you
there's
said.
so much more to it. There's so many benefits. There's endless benefits. It's optimal awareness, consciousness, it's peak performance. So if you're wanting to be a better person, it's for you. If you're wanting to reach new heights, it's for you. If you're wanting to calm your nervous system and regulate your nervous system, it's for you. Breathwork, hypnobreathwork is not for one type of individual. If you are looking to live a better life and expand your possibilities and create, we always talk about this dream life, but instead of just desiring that life, if we would wire that to say, I deserve this life, it's not just a desire. And you can create that through breath. Find the action steps on how to get there.
Yeah. And like you said, when sometimes we have that dream or that idea, and it's actually a great tool, a great uh, gateway that is actually helping us to pass from the idea to the action, but align action that feels right. It feels right in all planes. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The founder of HypnoBreathwork uses the phrase a lot, soul versus ego. And it's
Mm,
something that stuck with me throughout my whole entire training.
yeah.
The amount of times that we create and we make decisions from a place of ego versus if we were just tuned into our soul, the world would be a completely different place. You would have a completely different life. You would feel more in alignment. You would feel more in flow. It
Mm,
doesn't just create your internal reality. We have the ability to take that internal thought and bring it into our external reality. If we are seeing it, we can create it.
I definitely agree with that, Lorraine. I definitely agree with that. And one of the things that I before we close up our podcast here, the conversation is just really, really amazing. And I'm glad that we made it
I
before
know.
you have your girl.
I was
So
like crossing my
close.
fingers. I was like, don't come yet, don't come yet.
It's so close. I was like, oh my God, 3 days free right now. Oh my God, no. Just
Yeah.
wait 1 second. But
I'm due on Tuesday, so we technically have 6 days. 6 days.
all right, a couple of days right there. I would love for you if you can, of course, share where we can find you. What are the programs that people can join? If there are any offers one-on-ones, and then after that, I'm gonna ask you a question that I usually ask all of the guests.
Okay, absolutely. Yeah, you can, majority of my communication is done on Instagram. I like the ability to voice note. Even once you are a private client, we take it on to Voxer. I love hearing the energy in people's voices and you receiving that same love in return. So my Instagram is _flow with flow, and that is FLOW, and then with WITHLO. So flow with flow.
Beautiful.
And all of my offers are there. Right now, I'm currently accepting new clients into our membership, which is just such a beautiful world. It's called the Biz and Breath Collective, where we meet every single Tuesday. It's the power of consistent breath. Every week, we open up new doors of limitless possibility, and it's in the most beautiful community of women entrepreneurs, inspiring each other, celebrating each other, and really encouraging each other to reach new heights together. So that's a monthly membership. I will have an 8-week intensive coming up once baby girl makes her appearance into this world. That will be 8 weeks of a group program. My one-on-ones are always open. Right now, I only have one spot open, which again will be available as soon as she is here. But I will always tell people reach out. Let's discuss which option works best for you. Let's see what you actually need in this chapter of life. I will never have you do more than you need. The one-on-ones are still my favorites. People ask me all the time, why do you still do one-on-ones? And it's because I love them. I love being able to take people on a personalized journey and really be able to heal and to grow into new heights.
Yeah, the relationship one-on-one is always different.
I just love it. Yeah. And then lastly, I have a bunch of just self-studies. They're all linked in my bio. So between those, there's something for everyone. Here in Los Angeles, I do a lot of in-person events. Seeing people and the power of breath as a collective in person is so powerful. And then as well, I host a yearly retreat called Follow Your Magic as a co-host with 5 other quantum coaches, and that will be in October.
Oh my God, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing. And the last question here, what is your superpower, Lauren? What is that superpower? Not only that you consider that is for your clients, but what is your superpower? Simple as that.
I think you know the answer.
Yeah, I know.
My
But
superpower is breath.
love it. You
Breath
know,
is my superpower. I think we all have many superpowers. I think
yeah.
connection is one of mine. Understanding and sympathy is another one of mine. Genuine love and care is another one of mine. But I think all of those tie back into the superpower of breath. Having the power of breath within me gives me the ability to have all of those powers. My superpower is consistency in breath.
There's so many superpowers, but like I can definitely see it and I can definitely feel it. I think the word is feeling, and I'm so grateful for this conversation, Lauren. It was really really amazing. I
Thank
cannot
you
wait
so
to
much
meet
for
the baby
having me.
girl.
Yeah, she'll be here and she feels it. I breathed through my entire pregnancy, so I joke she's gonna come out. She's gonna come out hopefully very centered and very grounded.
Yeah, we feel that. All right, thank you so much, Lauren, and we'll see you in the next. Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me.